Welcome to the Thursday, July 14th, 2022, meeting of the Ann Arbor Historic District Commission. This meeting is being held in a hybrid fashion, some in person, some online, to protect public health and safety due to the COVID-19 virus. Okay. We intend to conduct this meeting similarly to an in-person meeting. However, please be patient if there are technical issues. Public comment will be on telephone only, or do we have other public comment?
Or in person.
Or in person.
Or via Zoom.
Right, or on Zoom. We've got several options for you for the public comment today. I'm going to I'll read the numbers up front here for anyone wanting to dial in. Bear with me, please. Okay, so public comment will be on the Zoom, or you can join by phone. I will read the numbers, but they're on the agenda. Is that enough, or should I read the numbers here?
Go ahead and read the numbers.
Let's read the numbers, okay. So you can call 206-337-9723, or call 213-338-8477, or a toll-free call, 877-853-5247, or another toll-free number, 888-788-0099. And then I'll give you the webinar ID, which you might need after you call in. That is 965-3669-9762. Okay.
All of this information is available on the published agenda.
It certainly is. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so I guess we'll do a roll call now.
Commissioner Epperson, Commissioner Rockland,
Here.
Commissioner White,
Here.
Commissioner Ross, Commissioner Fordner,
Here.
Commissioner Willis,
Here.
Commissioner Quijano. You have a quorum.
Great. Okay, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? Seeing no changes, we'll approve it. And move on to the Part D, public commentary. Now, this is public commentary. It's an opportunity for persons to speak for up to 3 minutes. These issues are issues that are not listed as public hearing on this agenda. So any issues that you'd like to raise that are not on the agenda, now is the time. So we'll find out if we have anyone wishing to speak.
I do have one caller who's raised his hand. I'm not sure if he wants to speak in the public commentary or something else, but Michael Tedla, I'm going to allow you to talk, and you can tell us if you're here for public commentary or something else.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I was in the right meeting I'm the grandson of Mr. Robert Hayden, and I just want to make sure I'm where I need to be.
Yes, absolutely. We'll be getting to that very shortly, okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
Great, thanks. Okay.
Okay. So is there anyone else for public comment?
No, that's it.
Okay. We will move on then to E, unfinished business, and there is no unfinished business today, so let's get right into F, hearings. And I'll hand it over to staff to start with hearing F1.
I'm going to pull up a PowerPoint, and Tim Boscarino is going to give a presentation. He's the consultant who's been working on the Hayden House Study Committee project. Tim, give me 1 second here.
Jill,
Yeah.
I don't believe we can begin until we have a quorum of the study committee.
And as far as I see, we only have one study committee member with us right now.
You need the quorum, it's for the commission.
Well, it's not a commission public hearing, though. It's a study committee public hearing.
I see.
And I don't see Patrick here tonight. Oh, Patrick, I'm sorry. I didn't recognize you because I've never seen you in person. Yeah, sorry, Tim. Patrick's here.
Yeah.
Jennifer Ross is absent, but Bev Willis is here, too. Thanks,
Excellent.
Patrick.
Great.
So you have your quorum.
Yep. I'm working on the slideshow. Okay, go ahead, Tim.
Great. So,
Sorry, it's not advancing. There we go.
thank you. Okay, so I will just begin, and yeah, if you could advance the slides when it's the appropriate time.
Sure.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great, thank you. So my name is Timothy Boscarino, and I'm presenting the report for the proposed Robert and Irma Hayden House Historic District, and I guess I should say I'm presenting the preliminary report because there will be a forthcoming final report ready very shortly. And this is, of course, a public hearing, so if anybody wishes to share your thoughts on the proposed district, whether you're speaking in favor, speaking against, or just asking questions or providing some general comments or thoughts on its significance or anything else, there will be an opportunity to do that. And before I go any further, just one item to clarify what exactly we mean when we say historic district. When we say district, that using that word kind of makes it sound like we're talking about an entire neighborhood or a group of buildings or something like that, but no, we're just talking about one individual house. The only reason we say we use the word district is because state law specifies the terminology we use, and state law tells us that's what we call it. So we call it a district. So if you could go on to the next slide, please. So this is a map of the proposed district, and it's the house at 1201 Gardner Avenue at the corner of Westminster Place. It's in the Lower Burns Park neighborhood, just a few blocks northwest of the intersection of Packard and State Streets. And on to the next slide, please. So the study process is well underway. It began on August 2nd, 2021, when the Ann Arbor City Council decided to study the house as a proposed historic district, and the City Council appointed the study committee, which is 3 people. It's Patrick Patios, the property owner, and the person that initially advocated and suggested to the City Council that they create this historic district. And he is a member of the Hayden family and the son-in-law of the Haydens and the husband of my Hayden. And Jennifer Ross, a historic district commission member who brings the expertise from the field of architecture. And Beverly Willis, a historic district commission member who brings the expertise from the field of history. And Mr. Patios has a background in literature and music himself as well. So the job of the study committee is to study the history of the house, to conduct this public hearing, and then make a recommendation to the City Council regarding the proposed historic district. And so a couple of weeks after this public hearing, the study committee will be making that recommendation, and then the City Council will be voting on the proposed historic district, most likely at one of its meetings in August. So the study committee also prepares 2 reports, a preliminary report, which is already done, and a final report, which will be done very shortly, which will, those reports go into the history of the district and why it's significant. And so if you're curious to know more, I encourage you to read either of those reports. If you can, wait for the final report. It will be more thorough and more complete and correct some of the items that were maybe not so complete in the preliminary report, but both will be available on the city website. I'm not exactly where you might find them. Jill, where would somebody find those reports if they wanted to look at them?
At www.a2gov.org/HDC, like Historic District Commission.
Oh, that's very easy. Thank you. Great. So on to the next slide. So the house was built in 1936, but that's not why we're finding it significant. The significance comes from a little later, period of significance would be 1969 to 1980, and it is significant as the home of Robert and Irma Hayden, and for a time their daughter Maya lived there as well. Mr. and Mrs. Hayden were both educators who lived in Ann Arbor in the 1940s, and after some time living elsewhere and traveling and such, they returned to Ann Arbor in 1969 when Mr. Hayden was offered a position as a full professor at University of Michigan. And Mr. Hayden was a great American poet. He was, among many other honors, he was consultant in poetry to the Library of Congress from 1976 to 1978. And that position is now known as the Poet Laureate of the United States, and that is really the highest honor a poet can get in the United States. That was perhaps the most noteworthy of a great many honors he attained during his lifetime. He published extensively, he traveled, he was poet in residence at quite a few different institutions over the years. He was recognized with quite a number of prestigious honors and awards over his career. He was also the first Black faculty member in the English department at U of M, which is also a noteworthy accomplishment. Mrs. Hayden was a pianist who taught music and dance, a classical pianist, and she traveled in order to do so she was quite successful in her career as an educator. She was superintendent of education in a number of places, so she was successful in her career as well. She was also very active in the local and also international Baha'i faith community. She played a leadership role in that community, and especially she took on an even more extensive role later in life after Mr. Hayden passed away. So one thing to emphasize when we're talking about the historic significance of this house, it was more than just, it wasn't a mere residence. Both of these individuals, they really practiced their arts at the house. Mr. Hayden in particular, he wrote much of his poetry from that time period in his upstairs office there. So this really was a place where those creative energies and all of that work really happened. So this was you can really, that creativity really happened at that house. So if you can just go through the next few slides, just a few photos of the proposed district, just to give a sense of what it looks like. That's the house. Still much in the same condition as it was during that period of significance. So yeah, just go through the next couple of slides, please. And yep, on to the next one. That's the west side of the house. And so just to explain for our audience what happens should the City Council choose to make this a historic district, the Historic District Commission will then become involved. So if the Ann Arbor City Council chooses to create the Historic District as proposed, it will then become administered by the Historic District Commission. And what that means is from this point forward, or from not this point, but the point at which the Historic District is created, from that point forward, any work done affecting the appearance of the building or its landscaping has to get approved by the Historic District Commission. So there are two ways that the Historic District Commission can approve work. And one is with a certificate of appropriateness. And that basically means that work has to meet the Secretary of Interior standards for preservation or rehabilitation and so on. And that effectively means, in layperson's terms, this is kind of an oversimplification, but in layperson's terms, that means that the work done has to be respectful of the historic appearance and character of the building. And again, this is a simplification in layperson's terms, but most of that in a historic district, most of the work that is approved is because it meets the Secretary of Interior standards, and so the work is found to be respectful to the historic appearance and character. Less often, work in a historic district can get approved with a notice to proceed, and that is when the Historic District Commission finds that the work might be necessary to correct a safety issue, if the house is standing in the way of some kind of major public improvement program that's going to benefit the community, or in the case of some kind of financial hardship to the owner that can't be overcome in any other way, or if there's some kind of major competing community interest that's at stake. So for those reasons, the commission can issue a notice to proceed also. And of course, the Historic District Commission, they will deny work if it doesn't meet any of these criteria as well. So that often happens as well. So that's it for my words. I don't know if the committee members have anything to add, but I can, or if Jill has anything to add, but I can hand it over to them, and then we can get on with our public hearing.
Patrick, would you like to say anything? Now would be a great time if you'd like to, but you don't have to if you don't want to.
I don't want to.
Okay, you're good. Bev? Anything you'd like to share? Okay. Study committee is good with this. So why don't we go ahead and, Dave, can you open the public hearing? And let's take the folks in council chambers first, if there are, and then I'll call on the callers that are on Zoom.
Okay, so now we'll open the public hearing for hearing F1, the Robert and Irma Hayden House, 1201 Gardner Ave Study Committee. So is there anyone present here that would like to make a public comment? Please approach the podium. And I don't see anyone running up to the podium here, despite a few people in the audience. So let's go to the Zoom.
All right, let's go first with Michael Tedla. Michael, if you would unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Michael Amon Tedla Sr. My address is 812 Pauline Boulevard, Ann Arbor, Michigan, 48103.
Thank you. Go ahead with anything you'd like to share.
I just would like to add that just moving forward with this, I know definitely that this is something that my mom and dad definitely would want, you know, my father, Mr. Patrick Patillo, there to keep the integrity and the legacy of both my grandfather and grandmother. And I think it's very, very important that they have a place that's dedicated for all the stuff that they've achieved and contributed to the community and to their profession, as well as outgoing citizens with great many talents. And I'm pretty sure everybody in the neighborhood can as well agree with me that they were, you know, the Hayden family was definitely one that was involved definitely with the community and the neighborhood as well, you know, and all the achievements, like I said, that they have accomplished. So I'm really pleased that this is an opportunity for people and for people just to come and see and learn from, you know, my grandparents. I call it legacy, but I feel very pleased and very thankful that this is even in conversation and hopefully something that will be permanent. And I'm definitely approve of this, not just because they're my family, but I just think it's definitely something that needs to, that can be just educational wise, just altogether, just something that's historical and everybody can just benefit from that. And I'm definitely very happy to be a part of this. So thank you. That's all I have to share.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving down the list. Let's go to, hang on. Let's go to Kemba Brannon. Kemba, I think you're unmuted. If you could give us your name and address, please.
I'm not seeing on this Zoom.
She has permission to talk.
It's not popping up on the
It's on the
screen
big
over here,
screen.
does it, Matt? Does it?
Oh,
You know, because I could see it on your screen, but I can't see Kemba.
But it's up there.
It
Yeah.
is, that's true.
All right, Kemba, if you can hear us, we can't hear you. I'm going to put you back in the waiting room for a minute. And we're going to try again.
Ask
Okay.
her again to unmute.
Yeah, she's not muted. Okay, sorry, Kemba, we can't hear you. You could try to call in instead, if you'd like. The number is 877-853-5247. All right, Kemba, sorry, I put you back in the waiting room. We're going to move on to Daniel Levin.
Hello?
Hi.
Good, you can hear me. So I am Dan Levin. I live at 1508 Westminster in Lower Burns Park. I'll keep this very brief because I have very little to add from what the nice preliminary report already said. The domiciles of Nobel laureates don't grow on trees, even in Ann Arbor. And in my opinion, it's a singular honor and privilege to have a recognition by the city of this landmark house. And I just want to give my complete, full-throated advocacy and approval for this measure and have that registered.
Thank you. If anyone else is in the Zoom and would like to talk, besides Kemba, who I'm still working on, please hit the raise your hand button so they know that you'd like to speak at this public hearing. Okay, Kemba, this looks different. Can you?
Hey, hello, can you hear me?
Hey, there you are. Great.
Oh, great. Sorry about that. I don't know what was going on, but I appreciate your patience. Good evening. My name is Kimba Brainin, and I'm an architect and historic preservationist working at Quinn Evans in Ann Arbor. And I'm also chair of the Michigan State Historic Preservation Review Board. And in the years that I've worked in the field of preservation, I've noticed a real welcome change in the type of histories that we've come to see as worth preserving. The story of Robert Hayden, who became the nation's first Black poet laureate, is a really important story for this community that's worth honoring and commemorating. I also have a personal connection with the Hayden family. I'm a member of the Baha'i community, and I've spent countless hours enjoying prayer and fellowship in the Robert Hayden home with his daughter Maya and his son-in-law Pat Patillo. My parents were also close personal friends with Robert and Irma Hayden and shared his love of poetry. I grew up hearing the poems of Robert Hayden recited over the dinner table, and I've never ceased to be amazed at how beautifully he interwove his religious faith with his humanity. So for all those reasons and more, I'm in support of the Robert and Irma Hayden House Historic District. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any more waiting, Jill?
Just one sec. All right, going once. If you'd like to speak at this public hearing and you're in the Zoom, please raise your hand. Otherwise, we will close the public hearing in a moment. Okay, I think we're good.
No one else? Okay, so now we will close the public hearing for hearing F1, and we will move on to, I guess, what's this?
Could I just add one more thing on this public hearing?
Absolutely.
I wanted to let Tim and all of the study committee members know that we also received 3 letters of support. One was from a next door neighbor, one was from June Thomas, and one was from the Baha'i community, the multi-state organization. And they were all extremely supportive. Those will be sent to the study committee tomorrow so that you guys all have them, and also transmitted to city council when the report goes to them in a couple of weeks. So thank you all for coming out and speaking and joining us for this public hearing, and we appreciate your comments.
Yes, thank you so much. It's always good for the commissioners to hear from the public on these hearings, so we do really appreciate it and take it all into consideration, absolutely. So I assume we don't have a review committee for this because, or did
No,
we have a
and there's
review
no
committee?
vote on this. It was merely a public
Right.
hearing. So,
Okay.
so we can wrap
So
it up.
Should we have any, is there any discussion before we wrap up, or? Okay, let's wrap it up. I just want to say I thought the report was very clear. It was very persuasive, and so congratulations to everyone who worked on the report. It was very well done. Okay, so we will move on. Well, let's just get, what will happen next? Can we just get a quick summary for the Hayden
Yeah.
house? So we've heard it now, and then it sounds like it's going to city council, but can you
Yeah,
give
this-
us a summary?
Yeah, the study committee will meet once more at the end of the month, and then if they approve the final report, then it will be transmitted to city council. It will also be distributed to lots of other organizations in the state for their review, other city boards and commissions, and after a certain amount of time, it will, actually, I think we already distributed it during the draft phase, but we will send out the final copy to them anyway. And city council has, I believe, up to a year to take action. We hope they don't take a year to take action, but that's up to them. So I'll report back to the HDC and put some updates on a2gov.org/HDC as they come along.
Thank you. Another question. How many of these districts, based on, individual merits of people that have lived in this city, do we have? About how much, or do we have any?
Cobblestone Farm is a single resource district.
Yeah.
And the Northern Brewery, I believe, is a single resource district.
Okay.
Up on Jones Drive.
Very good. Okay. Thank you. What a great opportunity. Okay, let's move on to hearing F2. That is 221-8 rear deck.
One second here. There we go. Oops. Sorry. I apologize, my computer is very slow today. All right. 2211 8th Street is in the Old West Side Historic District. This two-story side gable house was first occupied in 1920 by Otto C. Hack and his wife Emma. Otto was a meat cutter, Mr. Hack the meat cutter, I like that. First at Washington Market and then at Eshelbach Market. The Hacks lived in the house until at least 1960. The house features a nearly full-width front porch, shingle cladding on the upper floors with vinyl below, a shallow bay window on the first floor south, and a unique gambrel dormer facing the street, which you can see in this photo here. It's on the east side of 8th Street, south of West Washington. The applicant is seeking HDC approval to construct a bi-level rear deck between 6 and 8.5 feet above grade, made of composite wood with an aluminum guardrail. All right, this is a photo looking down the driveway. The deck would start at the end of the driveway, which I'll show you another picture of in a second, and run between the house and this little storage shed that's here. All right, here's looking back toward the street. Picture a deck at driveway level, and it would sort of follow the side of the shed here and go all the way to the house on this side, and extend out a little bit over the lawn, effectively making this no grade change from the driveway. There's also a small proposed platform on this side for storage of recycling or trash or compost containers. This is the back of the house. The deck, this is the area that I just showed you. There would be stairs going up at an angle here to a deck that would span the back of the house. You can see this is a little bump out here, so it would fill in the inset here, and it wouldn't extend beyond either side wall of the house, but you can see where this rope is. They laid it out to help you get a sense of how deep the deck is. It's not huge. So here we are looking, here's the door here on the side. This part is narrower, just to get you from the door to the larger part of the deck and down the stairs. This drawing is in your packet. You can see it's a little bit grainy here, but the deck would go here and across the back and fill in the notch back there. Here's my favorite drawing showing where it would be. The stairs are not on here to scale, so we had a discussion about that at the review committee, and I talked to the homeowner about it. And there's a good example of a photo, but first let me show you this plan. So this is the part on the left that's deeper. The door is somewhere right in here, into the back of the house. And then this is the lower deck. So in between here, it may be from this yellow to that yellow line. These are steps going down to the lower deck, and this is that part between the shed and the house. I was having a little bit of trouble envisioning what the stairs would look like, so I'll show you a photo of that in a second. The guardrail is not a wood guardrail. They're proposing an aluminum with these little caps on the top, and the decking would be composite decking. Since this is entirely in the back, and this design is very simple and traditional, staff feels that that is an appropriate design, even though it's not wood. I think it's okay. And this is a photo from, I think, the 70s of the previous. There used to be a deck in the same place, and these were the stairs that went up. There won't be as many stairs because there's going to be a deck here that's going to be, a couple feet taller. So it won't even look as significant as this, but I asked the homeowner for a picture just so we could give you an idea of, that's the most steps that you could see. And like I said, I think this is going to be a little bit less. So Secretary of Interior standards that best apply are numbers 9 and 10. 9 says new additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction shall not destroy historic materials that characterize the property. The new work shall be differentiated from the old and shall be compatible with the massing, size, scale, and architectural features to protect the historic integrity of the property and its environment. Number 10 says new additions and adjacent or related new construction will be undertaken in such a manner that if removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the historic property will be unimpaired. From the Secretary of the Interior's guidelines for a district or neighborhood setting, not recommended is introducing new construction into historic districts that's visually incompatible or that destroys historic relationships within the setting. From the Ann Arbor Historic District Design Guidelines for residential decks and patios, it's appropriate to install a deck in the rear of the property that is subordinate in proportion to the building. Installing railings made of wood is also appropriate. Custom railing designs will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. All right, let me go back up here very slowly. Yeah, come on, you can do it. All right, we'll just stop there. Staff does recommend approval of this application. The work is inconspicuous. It doesn't impact any character-defining features. It's replacing a previous deck attached to the house in the same way, in the same place, and it's visually compatible with the house and surrounding historic buildings. That's it for me. So let me get the petitioner in here.
Are we going to do the review committee here?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see, was it Commissioner Portner on the review committee? And, okay, Commissioner Beverly. Let's hear the review committee report, please.
It's pretty straightforward, not much more, nothing new to add. It's, the only thing that will be visible from the right-of-way is a few steps, and it will have no impact on the historic character, historic features.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay. Very good. So then, let's, okay, so would the applicant, is the applicant here or on
Yes.
Zoom?
Chris is on Zoom.
Okay, so then would you please unmute your microphone, turn on your video if possible, thank you, and provide your name and address for the record. And you now have up to 5 minutes to speak if you have anything to either add to the staff report or just comment in general.
Hi, I'm Chris Coverly, 221 8th Street, Ann Arbor, Michigan. And no, I don't have anything to add.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to the public hearing. I'll open the public hearing right now for this item. This is an opportunity for anyone to speak on this item. You've got up to 3 minutes. Is there anyone out there?
No, no one has raised their hand.
No comments, okay. So now, I'll close the public hearing, and I'll ask if there's any commissioner who would like to make a motion. Commissioner Fortner.
Okay. I move that the commission issue a certificate of appropriateness for the application at 221 8th Street, a contributing property in the Old West Side Historic District, to construct a bi-level rear deck with a section 6x6 and 8x6 above grade over a walkout basement, made of composite wood with an aluminum guardrail, and a section of composite wood deck at the driveway grade. The work is proposed as compatible in exterior design, arrangement, texture, material, and relationship to the rest of the building and the surrounding area, and meets the Ann Arbor Historic District design guidelines, in particular the guidelines for residential decks and patios, and the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation and guidelines for rehabilitating historic buildings, in particular standards 9 and 10, and the guidelines for district or neighborhood setting.
Second.
Okay, that was moved by Commissioner Fortner and seconded by Commissioner White. So is there any discussion on the motion here from any commissioners? No,
No.
okay, seeing no, I guess I'm a little concerned maybe about the stairs, but I think that they'll work themselves out. The only concern is that I'm just not seeing the stairs shown, but maybe they are shown. Staff did have a question if on that plan that we saw, are the stairs shown on that plan? There was some yellow lines. If you don't know,
Yeah.
that's okay.
I think it just shows some stairs coming down. The photo that you see of the stairs, the previous stairs, they actually are, you can see those better than you will ours. Ours will set back even further.
Okay, okay. I guess just not knowing how many stairs there were, but I understand that you're saying.
3 or 4.
Yes, 3 or 4. I think there'll be
Yeah.
more than that, but I understand that they'll be behind the house. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's go to a vote now.
Yes.
Are there, we've got one yes, but we haven't asked for a vote yet. Are all those in favor of this motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, please say no. The motion carries. Your application has been approved. Please note that you must apply for any required permits from the city before beginning your project. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, so now we are going to move on to, is it F3? 109 East Ann Street. Jill.
Give me 1 second here.
Okay.
Chris doesn't want to stay in the meeting with us all night.
Why
All
not?
right.
Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. There we go. All right. Next up, 109, 119 East Ann Street. Following a fire that leveled its predecessor, the 1871 Hoban block was constructed in the Italianate style. There's
Dramatic
6
pause.
3-story brick commercial. Yep. Oh, no, there's 2 of me. There we go.
Just thinking about it.
Yeah, it's so slow today. All right,
Oh, man. There we go.
there we are. These 6 3-story brick commercial buildings feature 4/4 windows with round and shallow segmented arches on the second and third floor. Corbelling runs across 5 of the 6 buildings below the missing cornice. The first floor has large storefront windows with flanking columns. This block was known for its saloons as early as the 1890s. In the 1960s and 70s, it was home to Clint's Club, a pool hall, and a barber shop, which were frequented by the area's black community. By 1977, the block of buildings was unoccupied, and in 1978, Peter Balakos opened his law firm in one building and began renovating the rest. The Balakos family continues as the block's owners to this day. This is on the north side of East Ann Street between North Main Street and North 4th Avenue. The applicant is seeking HDC approval to replace all of the non-historic wood window sashes on the rear elevation of the building, replace them with aluminum-clad wood sash packs in the same openings. So this is the back of the building. The request is to replace all of the windows on the second and third floor. They are currently 4/4 wood windows. Like I said, they were installed in the 70s incrementally. They don't all match. There's a couple of different styles, but they're all similar. And the family would prefer, you can see how some of the doors, some of the window openings were made into doors and have balconies. It's all very lovely and tidy in the back. But Mr. Balakos would prefer to install clad windows instead of all wood windows for maintenance and upkeep and longevity purposes. There were pictures provided from the interior. You can see the jam liners from the new windows that are currently there. And they're very modern looking. The proposal is to use Geldwen clad 4/4 windows. These are not proportioned right, but it is just a sash replacement. They're using sash packs and leaving most everything in place, which is a great approach to this. There is profile and window information with the application. Numbers 2, 5, 9, and 10 of the Secretary of the Interior standards best apply. Number 2 says the historic character of a property will be retained and preserved. The removal of distinctive materials or alteration of features, spaces, and spatial relationships that characterize a property will be avoided. Number 5 says distinctive materials, features, finishes, and construction techniques or examples of craftsmanship that characterize a property will be preserved. I have already read to you numbers 9 and 10 tonight. From the guidelines for windows being replaced, it's recommended to replace in kind an entire window that's too deteriorated to repair using the same sash and pane configuration and other design details. We don't know what the windows that were taken out in the 70s looked like, so we don't know what the original windows were. If using the same kind of material is not technically or economically feasible when replacing windows deteriorated beyond repair, then a compatible substitute material may be considered. From the design guidelines for missing features, it's recommended to design and install new windows when the historic windows are completely missing. The replacement windows may be an accurate restoration or be a new design that's compatible with the window openings and the historic character of the building. It's not recommended to install new windows that are incompatible with the building's historic appearance or obscure, damage, or destroy character-defining features. And from the Ann Arbor Historic District Design Guidelines for windows, it is appropriate if a window is completely missing to replace it with a new window based on accurate documentation of the original or a new design compatible with the original opening and the historic character of the building. Materials other than wood will be reviewed by the Commission on a case-by-case basis. I'm getting more requests like this, so I think it's a very timely matter for the HDC to talk about wood windows. We touched on it a couple of months ago at another meeting, but bear in mind that these are not replicas of the original windows. They're just replacement windows that staff cannot approve because I can only approve things made out of the same materials or better. Let's see. Since the original windows are gone and the current windows are not replicas, all the work is on the rear elevation, and the replacement windows would not negatively impact the remaining character-defining features. Staff believes replacing the sashes of wood replacement windows with these similar clad replacement sashes is appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thatcher. Commissioners Fortner and Willis were on the review committee. Can you give us your report, please?
I would like to add that I agree with the recommendations, and I think that it would be a beautiful enhancement for the back of the building and improve the overall structure.
No further comment, okay. So would the applicant please unmute your microphone?
Nope, he's here.
Please come to the podium. Thank you for being here. Please provide your name and address for the record, and you've got 5 minutes to comment on what you've heard. Thank you.
My name is Peter Balakis, and I reside at 9601 Alice Hill Drive, Dixon, Michigan.
Do you have any comments on what you've heard so far, or you don't have to have any comments? Yeah.
I don't think I have anything of substance to add.
Okay, very good. Do any commissioners have any questions for the applicant? No, okay. Thank you so much. So now we're going to open the public hearing for this item. If there's anyone here or on Zoom, please raise your hand if you have any comments for this hearing.
Not seeing anyone on Zoom.
Okay, so we'll close the public hearing, and I would like to ask if a commissioner would like to make a motion on the application.
Sure.
Feel free to sit down if you'd like, Mr. Blakos.
You can sit down, sir.
Yeah.
I move that the commission approve the application at 109-119 East Ann Street, contributing properties in the 4th Ann Historic District, to remove all of the non-historic wood window sashes on the rear elevation of the building and replace them with aluminum-clad wood sash packs in the same openings as proposed. The commission finds that the work meets the Secretary of the Interior's standards for rehabilitation and guidelines for rehabilitating historic buildings. In particular, standards 2, 5, 9, and 10, and the guidelines for windows and the City of Ann Arbor Historic District design guidelines for windows.
Second.
Okay, there was a motion by Commissioner Willis and seconded by Commissioner White. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, I think that I would say in particular, because these windows are, like the staff report really summarized on the last point there, you know, these windows are on the rear elevation, and they're not trying to replicate historic windows. The historic windows are not existing right now. So I think that the use of a clad window as opposed to a wood window is not really causing much case for concern in this particular hearing here. So I think we'll go to a vote. I'll handle that, Bob. Thank you. Please.
Yes.
All in favor of this motion, please say yes.
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 All opposed, please say no. Okay, the motion carries. Your application has been approved. Please note you must apply for any required permits from the city before beginning your project. Thank you. Yes. Okay, we're going to move on now to the next hearing. Should I talk very slowly?
No, I'm ahead of you
Ms.
this time.
Thatcher, is that okay? Hearing F4, 223 East Ann Street.
We have two applications at this address because there are two different contractors doing different work. The first is for replacement of windows, and the second is for replacement of trim for the windows. So we're going to start out with the window application. This is the Arbor Armory. It was constructed in 1911 and was used as an armory until the early 1990s. Its last military occupant was the Company D 156 Signal Battalion. The building housed a drill room, reading room, billiard room, the captain's office, orderly rooms, locker rooms, and an indoor shooting range and kitchen in the basement. The large vaulted room in the center was often used for community events like the annual Kiwanis sale, boxing matches, and concerts. The building was vacant for several years before being converted to condominiums by Ed Shaffrin in 1996. At that time, the HDC approved the removal of a garage behind the building and its replacement with a ramp and replacement of non-original windows with wood windows. An upper story balcony on the west elevation was approved by the HDC in 2016. And the site is at the northwest corner of North Fifth Avenue and East Ann Street. So this particular application is to replace 22 non-historic wood windows with Anderson 400 series clad windows in a traditional profile. Running through the photos here, this is such a stately building. My slides will change. There we go. This is a 1936 photo. This is one of the clearest photos that I found with the old windows. You can see that the sashes are 9/9 with a 6-pane transom above. And also the tops of the towers flanking the entry are still intact. Those are missing today, though we do still have the corner caps. You can see that the building looked quite a bit different with all of those many pane windows. I think there are some more photos in the staff report. I included this photo from 1960 just to show a little bit closer up of those windows. There's great documentation of those windows if anyone in the building would ever like to put them back through the AADL archives. But this was another photo in 1978 on the right, which shows that those windows are no longer present. So sometime in that period, they were replaced. These are simple 1/1 windows. These are, maybe the ones that were replaced in 1996 again. So we're a couple of generations away from the original windows. This application is for 22 windows. Staff is recommending and has written into the motion that if this application is approved, it should be applied to all of the windows, not that anyone has to replace them, but moving forward, if someone wanted to replace them, that it would be a blanket approval for the entire building, because the last thing you want is 22 windows of one type and then moving on to a different style that don't match those. The building already has several windows that were replaced without HDC approval that are clad windows, but there are a lot of windows on this building. And those, when you walk by, kind of stand out because they don't really match everything else. There's good documentation of all of the windows proposed to be replaced and their unit numbers. There's one on the back, the north elevation. This is it. There are 3 units on the west elevation. This is the long wing, or the marching room, I think it was, behind the taller block that faces the street. And you can see in this photo that there is a little bit of an overhang here, but a lot of these windows have very little protection from the elements. They are very exposed, and parts of the building are really exposed. There were rotted wood photos in the application. Don't see the photo that I wanted. So these windows from the 90s are in poor shape. The proposal is to replace them with Anderson windows. This is a 400 series. I believe it is aluminum clad. Actually, no, I think it's vinyl clad. That's in the staff report. I'll see if I can find that in a second.
I believe the staff report said vinyl.
Okay, staff report says vinyl. The profiles have been provided. Also in the motion is a condition that the window glass be installed on the same plane that it's at currently, so that the windows don't get too close to the street or too far back. I would imagine these are pretty thick walls, so that we at least keep that look. From the Secretary of Interior standards, I've read to you number 2, 9, and 10 already. And I think I've read many of these window replacement guidelines to you. Let me see if there are any that I missed. This is sort of the same situation as the last one, but they're not on the back of the building. These are not historic windows, they're not replicas of historic buildings, but they are, they're taking a step up here on visibility. Yeah, and these are all of the same guidelines that I read to you on the last application. So let's get out of here. I actually kind of prefer vinyl clad to aluminum clad windows often because the aluminum clad get very flat. And it's aluminum, bends pretty well, but vinyl bends a lot better. And sometimes you get a little bit more traditional profile that way. The Secretary of the Interior's guidelines do say that if using the same kind of materials is not technically or economically feasible, then a compatible substitute material may be considered. And in the Ann Arbor Historic District design guidelines, it says that materials other than wood will be reviewed by the commission on a case-by-case basis. So here we are today. I do believe that the replacement of these windows with the proposed Anderson 400 series is appropriate. There's no historic precedent. The sashes will look very close to what is there now, and it would be more desirable to have a uniform look in the building. It would take some time, obviously, but this is a good place to start, and I think that these are a pretty decent quality window to do it. I did have, the review committee had a question about the amount of glass, and if the amount of glass would be staying the same or increasing or decreasing, and when we get the applicant on, Judy, she said that she would be prepared to answer that question, so we'll get to that. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Thatcher. Okay, so Commissioners Fortner and Willis, we're on the review committee. Let's hear your report.
Yeah, I have to agree with staff that certainly a uniform window will be an improvement over the two kinds that are there now. And these windows, while because they're highly visible, they're also very exposed to the elements. And so I could see that this is a good situation for the clad windows.
I agree.
Okay, very good. Is the applicant here? No.
Yep, she is.
Okay. So the applicant is on Zoom, and so would you please, there you go, unmute your microphone, turn on your video. You've already done that, thank you. Please provide your name and address for the record, and let us know if you have any comments from what you've heard so far.
Sure. Judith Rossi. Oh, let me get this up. Just 1 second, please. Anyways, it's 223 East Ann Street.
Okay, do you have any comments, Judith?
I don't have any comments. I do want to say that the new windows we're proposing to purchase are period classics and are the closest that we can find that would match the building, the historical integrity of the building.
Thank you. Looks like we also have someone else here. Do you want to state your name and address? Ben?
Yeah, Ben Holland, 7775 Lakeview, Jackson, Michigan. I'm the contractor that's going to be putting in the windows.
Okay, so any comments, Ben?
No, none at this time.
Okay. All right, so commissioners, any questions for the applicants?
Yeah, the question about the comparison of the size of the glass between the old and the new. Will the daylight be the same?
Ben, if you want to chime in here, that's fine. I checked measurements of the sashes with the original existing windows and with the new windows that we're proposing to purchase, and they are very, very similar in size. So the glass surface area will not change. There may be, it should not change. It'll be very similar to what we have there now. It won't be any, I should say, larger.
No, it'll be very similar to what's there now. It's really close. Judy, I don't have the exact measurements in front of me, but I know
Yeah.
they're pretty much same for same swap.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? No. Okay. Okay, so we'll now open the public hearing for this item. So anyone who'd like to speak on this item on Zoom, please raise your hand.
Nobody.
No one here, so we will close the public hearing. And I'll ask if there's a commissioner that would like to make a motion, please. Commissioner Fortner.
I move that the commission approve the application at 223 East Ann Street, a contributing property in the Old Fourth Ward Historic District, to replace any existing windows with the proposed Anderson 400 Series clad windows in a traditional profile on the condition that the sashes are installed so the plane of the new glass matches the plane of the existing glass. The commission finds that the work meets the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation and guidelines for rehabilitating historic buildings, in particular 2, 9, and 10, and the guidelines for the windows and the City of Ann Arbor Historic District Design Guidelines for windows.
Support.
Okay, that is moved by Commissioner Fortner and seconded by Commissioner White. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, I had a question. If you could just explain, so the standards say that wood windows would be appropriate, and then other materials are a case-by-case basis. So why are you proposing the vinyl-clad windows?
I can answer that.
Yeah.
Our windows are exposed to the elements quite a bit on both the east and west side and north, obviously the whole all around. And they're rotted, and we want some windows that will be long-lasting and also energy efficient. And that's pretty much what people are using now. And we don't want to have to go through this in another 5-6 years. Also, the clad and other types of composite material do not require painting. So we just want to reduce the amount of maintenance on those windows and just have a better look and less problems with them in the future.
Thank you for that. Ms. Thatcher, I had a question for you.
Yes.
In the motion, we are saying to match where the plane of the glass, as we say.
Yeah.
Can we look at a few photos? Because it seemed like, I'm wondering if they're all the same. And are we saying, is it clear that we're saying to match it at window for window, or is there, it almost looked like some of them were like mounted flush with the exterior of the brick, which is really not where you want your window.
Yeah.
Right. Those
Why are they all installed like that? That looks wrong to me.
Flush?
Yeah, they're installed flush as opposed to inset, and that's why you have rotted windows. Well, that and no overhang, but those windows should be in.
Are you planning on putting the new ones in? Reset back a little bit?
As far as I know, that's going to be the way they are. The
Right.
trim around the window was going to be replaced as well.
Let's look at a historic photo to see what the.
Can I butt in? Can I butt in here?
Absolutely.
It appears
Yeah, look at that.
the majority of the windows in the building I looked at, whenever the windows were replaced from the original windows, they all seem to be installed in that similar fashion with the outside brick mold all the way out to the surface of the brick. And you are correct, that's kind of unusual. But also the sashes themselves are clad, and that's typically an improvement over just unclad wood windows. Unclad wood windows are notoriously difficult to maintain, and regardless of where they are, they typically end up rotting at some point. That's clad windows now in the first place. But as far as the design of the windows themselves, they should be almost identical to what is there, and especially the sash profile and the meeting rail in the middle should be in the middle as the existing windows are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so to me, this is kind of confusing, where we're saying
Well,
to
we're-
mount
yeah.
it in the wrong spot.
Yeah,
And I'm saying wrong because normally we would have an existing window that's inset, and we want them to keep that inset window because that is like the historic look, and that's where
Yeah.
it looks correct in a historic building.
yeah, yeah.
But I suppose asking them to do it in this case, they're just going to do it anyway. Because that's going to be, like, all the interior trim is going to
Right,
be messed
is-
up if
that's
we,
right.
if
That's
we do
right.
anything else. Okay, I just wanted to talk through that. Are there any other questions or comments?
Let's vote.
We're going to go to a vote. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 All those opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Your application has been approved. Please note, you must apply for required permits. Thank you. Okay. The next hearing, F5. Same address, 223 East Ann Street.
All right,
Thatcher.
now we're moving on to the window trim, which you've already seen some pictures of, rotting away. I'm not going to repeat all of the photos again, but the trim's just a mess. It's pine, it's painted, it's been maintained, and it's just not holding up well. So instead of installing new wood trim, the applicant is here, two applicants, to use a composite material. I believe it's AZEK. And let me get the other, got the wrong staff report here. So they wish to replace the deteriorated pine trim with AZEK trim in matching dimensions. Because this is a change from historic materials, staff can't approve it, so we're here before you today. One of these is AZEK and one of these is wood, and I don't have it written down, so I can't tell you which is which, but from this photo, they're pretty darn close. I believe that, yes, one of our applicants is here and has brought some. We'll get to you in just 1 second, Mark. AZEK, it's used pretty commonly these days, not generally on historic buildings. The HDC does occasionally approve things that are composite materials or fiberglass. This has happened a few times with things like porch columns because they have a persistent water problem, or other trim that again, it's usually because of water. You know, water is the enemy of wood, and it's not generally considered appropriate to use composite materials, to use other materials than the historic ones. But it's being requested here, and they do have a problem with water. And we've now determined why, thanks to Commissioner Rockland. From the Secretary of Interior standards, I've already read to you numbers 2, 9, and 10. From the guidelines for wood repair, it's recommended to repair wood features by patching, piecing in, consolidating, or otherwise reinforcing the wood using recognized preservation methods. Repair may also include the limited replacement in kind or with compatible suitable material of those extensively deteriorated or missing parts of features where there are surviving prototypes such as brackets, molding, or sections of siding. Not recommended is using substitute material for the replacement part that does not convey the visual appearance of the surviving parts of the wood feature or that is physically or chemically incompatible. From the Ann Arbor Historic District Design Guidelines for windows, it's not appropriate to wrap exterior wood window trim in aluminum or vinyl. That's not what we're asking for here. I just wanted to refresh your memory on that one. And it is appropriate to replace missing features with elements based on documentation of the original feature, which we're not really doing here, or with a new design that's compatible in scale, size, material, and texture with the historic building and district. It's not appropriate to use substitute materials to cover or replace wood siding, shingles, trim, and architectural features. It's best to keep wood if you can, but if there's a problem, that's when we bring it to the commission and ask you if it is appropriate. So staff believes that applying the standards and guidelines comes down to compatibility with the building and district. Specifically, from the design guidelines, replacing missing features with elements based on documentation of the original or a new design that's compatible in size, scale, material, and texture. So if you think that it is compatible, then it is an approvable application. If you think that AZEC is not an appropriate choice, and I'm sorry, I don't have examples of where it has been installed, because usually it's a very minor part of a project, like maybe the base of a column that stands in water or something like that. So I don't have a lot of experience with it. But it is a point in its favor that the window trim is not original and it's not based on any historic precedent. So that concludes staff's report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thatcher. Commissioners Fortner and Willis were on the review committee. Let's hear your report, please.
I agree with the recommendations that because the trim and the windows are not original, that this material would, I think, be a better replacement for wood in instances like this.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see, it all comes down to, is it going to look the same?
Yeah.
So if we can see the examples?
Very good. All right, so are you the applicant?
Yes.
Okay. And I see that we have Judith and Ben still on the line. So can you come to the podium, state your name and address before you show us the show and tell that you brought?
Yep. So I'm Mark Middleton. My address is 213 Beek Street, Ann Arbor, Michigan, 48104. And I'm proposing to replace the wood trim, the rotted wood trim, with this PVC alternative.
Thank you, Mark. And you've brought in the PVC, that's PVC? Yeah,
Yep.
okay. Or that's wood? Are they both, what do you got there? Why don't you let us know?
This one is a pine.
Okay,
This is what's on there right now.
We've got the pine.
And that rotted extensively. You can feel the flimsiness of the material. When water gets in there, it's only primed on the outside. It's not treated. They don't make a treated variant. So when water gets inside, it actually rots from the inside out. And that's why it lasted only 20 years rather than this, which is a PVC material. And they're an identical trim. And this is rated to last almost 30.
And does this need to be painted?
Yes, this is painted.
You can pass these down, Mark. See if there are any other questions or.
Yeah, I have a question for Mark.
Should I stand at the podium?
Yeah,
Sure,
please.
yeah, because then the microphone will pick up your comment. So can you address, I just have a concern about like the joints that you're going to have here if you have 4 pieces of PVC wrapped around. It's my understanding that thermal contraction in PVC is quite big from winter to summer, and so how do you mitigate that, or are we going to have just big joints at the corners, or what is it going to look like at the joints?
Okay, so actually the wood, the pine, will have a similar effect of the expansion and contraction. And when we create those corners, we will leave a little bit of an expansion gap. It was sealed with a special caulking agent that expands and contracts with the different temperatures.
Okay, so like there won't be an open joint that
No,
will be
it won't be
there.
visible.
It'll be invisible, basically.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Are there other kinds of wood besides pine that could be
Not in the
used?
brick mold. They only had pine brick mold of that kind, of that shape and size.
You could get something custom cut, is what
Yes.
the next thing would be, yeah.
10 feet.
The life is longer for this one.
Is that the PVC there?
Yes.
Yes, much longer.
All right, we still have Judith and Ben here. Do you guys have any comments at this point that you'd like to make?
No.
or Ben is?
I do not.
Thank you. Okay, Mark, anything else? You'll have another chance, but
Okay.
if
Yeah, I'm
you're-
good
if
for right
you're good
now.
right now, okay. Okay, commissioners, any more questions? No. Okay, so I'd now like to open the public hearing for this item. This is an opportunity for people to speak on this item. Do we have anyone who'd like to
No.
speak?
No one is present.
No one present, okay. So now I will close the public hearing, and I'll ask if a commissioner could please make a motion on this application. You can probably take a seat.
I move that the commission approve the application at 223 East Ann Street, a contributing property in the Old Fourth Ward Historic District, to replace the deteriorated pine trim installed in 1996 with Azek trim and matching dimensions as proposed. The commission finds that the work meets the Secretary of the Interior's standards for rehabilitation and guidelines for rehabilitating historic buildings, in particular, standards 2, 9, and 10, and the guidelines for windows and wood repair, and the City of Ann Arbor Historic District Design Guidelines for windows and wood siding, trim, and architectural details.
Second.
Okay, that was moved by Commissioner Willis and seconded by Commissioner White. Is there any discussion on the motion? No, okay. Well, yeah, I would say that it does seem like in this particular case, I mean, I have a concern about using the material, but I would say two things. One, bringing the material in was quite helpful to see it in person, and it's a very close, if not exact, replica of what is there right now. And just in this particular case with the rotting wood issue, it would sort of be it would be unreasonable to replace with wood and just have it deteriorate again. And if we're not going to change, I guess the just how the water is going to be hitting those windows and the window trim by insetting them or flashing them or something, then I guess changing the material is appropriate in this case. So we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of the motion,
Yes.
please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, please say no. The motion carries. Your application has been approved. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thanks, Judy and Mark. And Ben.
Thank you.
So we're moving on now. That was our last hearing, so we're moving on to G, new business. I don't see any new business, so we'll move on to H, approval of the minutes. Those came out quite late in the day here. I don't know if anyone actually had a chance to look at them. Did anyone peruse the minute? I think we got them around 6 or something like that. Should we approve them anyway? Or
Kathy
should?
took a look. Did you guys take a look?
Okay, I wasn't able to. All right.
Okay.
I didn't.
But if
Okay.
we've had someone take a look and there's no comments, then, okay. So with no comments, we can approve the minutes from June 9th, 2022. Moving on to I, reports from commissioners. Any reports? No. Let's go to assignments. Ms. Thatcher.
This is for Monday, August 8, Review Committee. The meeting is Thursday, August 11. Jennifer Ross has already volunteered to be one of the participants. Would anyone else be interested in joining her? It's at 5 p.m. And if we don't have another person, I'll put out a call to the other 2 members that are not here tonight.
Very good.
Okay, I will do that.
I can't commit.
If you don't get anybody.
Okay, I'll use it as
Be backup.
backup.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now we'll go on to the reports from staff, item K.
I want to let you guys know that I will not be here for the next meeting. I'll be on vacation that week. And Matt Kowalski will be here in my stead. He'll be taking the review committee around as well. I don't have a good sense of how many applications there will be yet, but I don't think it will be overwhelming. I only know of one for sure so far, two for sure so far. Another thing is I had another request this week for a commercial building to replace wood windows that are not original on the back alley side of a building with clad windows. So I'm wondering if you want to keep reviewing these, or if this is something that you would feel comfortable making a staff approval for non-replica windows replacement.
In the back.
Yeah, in the back, yeah, never in the front, but if it's in the, I think I would write it up as, they would have to be in the back, they have to be non-original, and they have to be non-replica. And you guys think you're comfortable with that?
Yeah.
You don't have to decide right now, because I have to bring it back to add, but,
Okay.
Yeah, that would be helpful to review something that you put together. And,
yeah.
we can.
But I don't want to go forward if you're all going, oh, no.
Yeah. Go forward.
Yes, do
All right,
it.
I'll take a look at that. Thank you. That's it for reports from staff.
Very good. Okay, item L, concerns of commissioners. Are there any concerns? Very good. M, communications. I think that we've had several communications, but I believe we had one that was not regarding the Hayden House. Isn't that right? It was regarding the corner, the Pretzel Bell building?
Oh, yes, there was, I'm sorry, I don't have it with me, but there was one letter that came in last month that I cannot paraphrase because I don't have it in front of me.
It basically was in support of putting in a rooftop addition on that building, but then also said, I understand that you have your things that you have to consider as a commission. Sort of stated both sides.
So that's in your electronic packets. Bob, if you didn't get a printout of that, I can print you one if you'd like.
Please do that.
Okay.
Okay, then I believe that brings us to adjournment. I now adjourn the July 14th, 2022 Historic District Commission meeting. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.